good enough to be invited, but now that's not good enough. We want to be there for the world to see us waving around so we can use it as overlay for our next bust up with the family. Do you think that King Charles should give in to everything here? Because if they don't turn up, who's going to care?
Well, I think certainly in the UK, most people will be delighted if they don't turn up, and even more delighted if Meghan doesn't feel brave enough to come, because they will be boos that you've never heard. They are so badly regarded now, and it's all their fault. You know, how many years more are they moaning? And I think the hypocrisy is astonishing, that they don't want anything to do with the royals. In fact, Harry says he needs to come over and fix it, which is a total nonsense, because he can't even know what to say and what not to say about himself nowadays. And they feel that suddenly there's something happening. Great, we've got to be there. But not only there, we've got to be in the front. We've got to make sure that Archie's birthday is mentioned. For goodness sake, you know, it's a state event. It's not a birthday party for small people. They've got sort of no understanding of the wonders of a coronation.
But also, the great want to modernise, and I understand that. You know, this is an institution that's many hundreds of years old. Part of the joy is seeing things that only come out every few dozens of years. That's part of the spectacle, regardless of how you feel about the monarchy. But the idea that, you know, turning it into, as you say, a kid's birthday party or a couple of shout-outs, or let's read some telegrams from the people who can't attend, it's just, it's pretty low rent. It's not a wedding. It's not a 21st, not a 50th. It's not a funeral. It's a once in a lifetime thing for a monarch and all of the people watching on. It's called a coronation for a reason. But what about, again, supposedly one of the demands here, or one of the concerns they have, is that Prince George is going to have a role in the coronation, but their kids won't. They do know that Prince George follows Prince William, who follows King Charles. It's called the line of succession.
No, but you see, Meghan can't cope with that. I don't think Harry's even told her properly what it's all about, because she's not that stupid not to absorb things. I think he's frightened to tell her because she won't have it. But I think she's also got to be first. That's why she couldn't stay with us. She wanted to be up there with the Queen and tell her all the modern things that she could be doing instead of what she's been doing the last 65 years. You know, it's just me, actually, written in enormous capital letters with balloons on them, you know? And I think that it's incredibly sad. You know, if you are no longer a working royal, you can't go up on the Buckingham Palace balcony. It's said, that's it. You can't come in and say, no, I want to be there. She can't wear a tiara, I've heard, because she's not a working royal. Fury, anger. I mean, how can she not put one of these tiaras with masses of diamonds on? That will get loads of pictures taken of her, and she can use that for the next documentary. But then it would be full of moaning about she only had 75 diamonds and Camilla had 93 diamonds. You know, I mean, she's not rational about these things. You can't expect to trash something and then want to be in it. It doesn't make any sort of sense.
Well, also, as you talk about before, I mean, the hierarchy of the family is because there is only a monarch at a time. The law has been modernised that if the eldest child is a daughter, it will end up being a queen, not a king. Yes, we have a scenario where if it is a king, they have a queen. We don't have a king if it's a queen. But these are well-established protocols that exist for a long time. But you mentioned it before again about these not our king people, and there'll always be a younger generation that loves bucking everything that's about older generations. But this generation gap, how important is it that the coronation, to some degree, or its celebrations, tries to talk to little kids, teenagers, 20-somethings, and people who maybe have even been around for the last one?
Yes, I think what's interesting is that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of them are angry. They think that Camilla's going to take over because her name is Queen Consort and she's next. You're quite right. It goes down to the family. You can't send it to your wife or your brother or anything like that. It goes down the generations. And I think that there are a lot of young people who I've spoken to recently who are really excited about it because it's once in a lifetime thing. But the people who don't want it are screaming and shouting, and a lot of them are led by the brother of a communist. So you can't expect him to sort of say great. But I think it's very important that the police have said that the number of people who are shouting "Not my king" or making a fuss about it are absolutely no more than there's ever been at any other event. They just make a lot of noise, and on social media they can sort of bump it up and say how successful they were when they weren't at all. I mean, if you saw when King Charles and Camilla came back from the Queen when she died on that same day. They went to Buckingham Palace, and I know for a fact they were really scared. Would there be nobody there? Would people be shouting against them and, shouting for the Queen? But actually, it was amazing. It was full of thousands of people who were cheering them and singing "God Save the King," which we haven't heard for 70 years. And they were astonished. So instead of going into Buckingham Palace and have a cup of tea and relaxing after a very traumatic, upsetting day, they went out chatting to everyone. And that showed me, one, that they want to be very accessible, but two, there were thousands of people who went out in the dark to cheer them on. And wherever they've gone, there might be this little patch who shout very loudly with some sort of thing that makes their voice exaggerated. There's also a load of people who are there. And a lot of young people like King Charles because he's done so much for those who've been homeless and haven't been able to find any work. I mean, he's well over 1 million people have got jobs and careers because he cares so much about the young generation. So it's all sorts of nonsense, really. And I hope that the day will go very smoothly and that modernisation would be exactly what the King wants, and that it's slightly less money, but very grand and spectacular, which the UK is very famous for.